Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about another individual who was famous, or infamous, in the late 80s and 90s. This goofball was even on the Art Bell show, I believe, a few times, because, of course, Bell would get down to the lowest possible level of incompetency, putting on people who are worthless and have no knowledge whatsoever. One of those is Steven Gibbs, the famous time travel person, if you can call it that, who has been selling his hyperdimensional radiation electromagnetic device for years. It must be at least 20 or 30 years now. And at the time of the golden age of alternative science, there was a lot of seekers out there for all types of alternative science, including things that had to do with time travel was a big interest. Who isn't interested in time travel? It certainly is a fun area to think about. And one of the people out there who ironically stated he never really did time travel. He never really got any results, but he used this goofy little machine that he made with a giant electromagnet on it. And the electromagnet, after you tuned in this machine, which was radionic based, really. It was like just a radionic machine with a giant electromagnet on it. And of course, you'd put this near your head, and it's amazing that people weren't killed by this, but maybe they were. We don't really know. I sold the unit for years as a research device. Why not? I don't make judgments on things. If it's interesting technology, well, here it is. Try it. Let me know what you actually can obtain from it. We've sold, 5, 10 units, and nobody got any results from it. What's interesting is the entire story behind Steven Gibbs, even the fact that in the movie Napoleon Dynamite, they made their own version of this, claiming it was a time travel device. Interesting, because I was later to find out from Gibbs that Warner Brothers had contacted him, and they were talking about getting rights to his or whatever. I'm not sure what the whole story was, but the reason why that is because Steven Gibbs was mentally handicapped. He was living on Social Security disability because he was kind of goofy, taking lots of medications, etc. He had all sorts of problems, and he wrote a few little booklets. We also published those booklets as well for him and made him some good money with all of this. But of course, he was gotten to by others, and which is the usual case of the organizations that are working against IGOS to prevent us from prospering and helping people. So they went over to other people who illegally printed and sold the books because we had the rights to them as usual. A person called Rick Todish, which he did not have the rights to publish those books, but he did. Steven Gibbs, of course, would not answer any phone calls, being the cowardice mental case that he was. So here's a guy, and of course I don't know, living on disability. I hope he declared all that money he was making. But here's a guy who is totally mentally unstable. He's on strong medications, and of course, this is Art Bell. Want to be on my show? You'll follow Ed Dames, the guy that thinks we're going to be invaded by Martians every week. So the whole idea is that, the lack of credibility, the almost comic book nature of Art Bell's show, which again was at a time when things were more interesting in terms of people followed these things, and was just a fad for that time. And of course, Art Bell was put up by the intelligence agency. It's pretty well documented in several different books of where he actually got his funds from and who sponsored his show. The way his show started is documented by Angela Thompson Smith in her book Seer. Very interesting story and a great read in general, kind of the inside look at the kind of industry of remote viewing and psychic. So Steven Gibbs, of course, I'm not sure what he's doing to this day. Apparently people are still selling this hyperdimensional unit. He's got a bunch of goofballs putting silly photos up. The plain and simple thing is it was researched for over 10 years by myself and others, and nobody got any results from it. There was a serious danger of putting a huge electromagnet on your chest and near your head. It has been known that if you have strong electromagnetic fields near the head, you can have serious problems, and of course it causes major delusions, etc. Now, several people I know used it, gave me some of their prophecies. One was about the death of Ronald Reagan, which back then he was still alive and well and didn't die for another 10 or 15 years. Wrong, and other things that were given, they were all wrong. Nobody got any kind of results with his technology. Now, as he said, I'm always a researcher, and hey, try it. Tell me what you've got. Give me back some viable information. Well, he had all these goofy little books and that he wrote 20, 30 pages on different time travel things. And again, as adding to the pile of what I consider more practical information is what we were seeking, particularly in the 90s, trying to dig up anything we could to move ahead in the understanding of all these fields beyond the contrived information you get from governments and the idiot scientific community. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line is that he was easily coerced. He is a person who literally is living on a disability for being mentally disturbed. And we have to take these things into consideration. And the bottom line here is, regardless of all that, which I don't really care what anybody's into or doing within certain reason, does it work? Well, none of his information have ever proved to be any value. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't create any fields. It does nothing except put out a huge electromagnetic field, which can be used in some fashion as a distortion field so that this may trigger some time travel type effects, but it just isn't real. It doesn't work, and he knows nothing about any kind of technologies or anything else. And he is the type of person that is totally and completely untrustworthy. And there's certainly nothing you can gain from him. He's also, just plain and simple, not a very good person who breaks his legal contracts, who works with corrupt people. Well, this is all part of it. So what do you do with people like that? But if you want to know why things never progress ahead, well, this is why. Because of corrupt people, their disgusting way of operating, and basically a bunch of fabricated lies that are then picked up by other people to actually promote them. I allege that Bell was told to put him on, and other people who were, because of the fact that they were now my business partners, and they wanted to promote them over me. Well, this is very typical of how these people work, and of course use their controlled people. Art Bell had a handler, and plain and simple. And when he got a little off base, his life became problems. But the bottom line is that Art Bell, like everybody else, is heavily connected into the intelligence community and all the control factors. People on his show were put there because they wanted them there. The same government remote viewers, the same crop of people you hear all the time that went on his show. And that's what happened. And then, of course, he'd put any type of lunatic on there he could. Ed Dames. We're all going to die from the Martians coming. Yeah, run. I'm a government officer. I'm in the military. I lost all the wars. So the whole idea is that we have that, then we have this goofball who put on the radio, I think several times. I never really listened to it. He even talks kind of like a person who is mentally challenged. So we run into these things, and you have to be careful. Do not believe anybody because somebody puts them on their show. Now, Bell knew nothing and didn't challenge anybody. It was put on as a comic book. Here it is, people. It's entertainment. And, of course, he said that. But, nobody listens to that. They give credibility to people who don't deserve credibility. And one of them is Steven Gibbs and his worthless machine. You don't produce time travel results and then sell it to the public. This would be an impossibly empowerment tool that you would never be able to offer to the public. Why was it? Well, they want you to use garbage, waste your money, and go down roads which they know will never lead you in any proper place. I was trying to change that by getting people motivated as researchers to look into all this. And it wasn't this product or this book. It's what can we make from these ideas and expand upon it and get something to work. But of course, this doesn't happen. What happens is people buy this stuff, support these frauds, and they perpetrate bad science that will never work and that you're laughed at with. That's part of the game. So be careful. That's out there everywhere. We've got all sorts of problems with these technologies, things that are built by a bunch of really poor, ignorant people that are worthless, and they are put out there, and a lot of them are supported. Junk machines, garbage orgone, all these things that in many instances will not only drain your pocket, but can be even dangerous. And this is the people who are supported. They want to support bad technology that will disempower you, not only in the general field, but it'll disempower you in society by taking your money. Until next time.